All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Rich Dad Stockcast with our personal homegrown genius, Andy Tanner.
Quit hey, Andy, doing that, man.
I think it's so funny because your face turns red and you get so mad at me.
Oh, well, if you really, people that really know me know that, look, clear thinking, maybe, but genius, no.
Well, I'm not going to agree with you. I will agree with the clear thinking, however, but I learned so much from you, not just from the show, but I've taken your courses, and I'm very grateful for the things you've taught me. But before we get too crazy into that, everybody needs to, that's so dumb. I hate it when podcasters say that. Hey, if you like
the show, opportunity to.
Yeah, exactly. If you like the show, please hit subscribe. One thing that is really important to Andy and I both is that you put something in the comments. In fact, today's show is going to be another reaction to a comment that somebody left. And so It's really important that you give comments because then you can get the shows that you're looking for. And also, before I forget, this is going to be a show heavy on options and kind of understanding options a little bit better. Andy Tanner has given us a link to a course he did. It's like an hour-long course called Zero to Cash Flow in 30 Days. And so to me, that's pretty exciting. 30 days, zero to cash flow. That's like, I can do something for 30 days. That's no big deal. It's kind of like when you're working out and your coach says, just one more rep. You can do one more rep. All right, fine. I can do one more rep. So same thing. You can do this in 30 days. And Andy Tanner will show you how. It's free. Click the link. All right. So that's enough of the clicking the links. But I'm not kidding. Write this in the comments because here's what you're going to get. We had I really need Andy to clarify what options are. That's one of the comments we got. And so Andy has agreed to clarify what options are.
I can do that. That one's easy.
That's like your bread and butter right there. But to kind of make it a little clearer, what I wanted to do, Andy, is take one of the cards, the stock cards from the cash flow board game. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that.
Many people are familiar with it, but I'll just read the card to you, and Andy, you can kind of respond. The card itself is not an options card; it's a stock card. But I'd like to hear how you can turn it into options. Is that fair?
Okay, I can do that. And by the way, you get me talking about the cash flow game, I get lit up. I love that game.
Well, just real fast.
I know. I love that. I'll go on a little rant, not a rant, but I'll go on a whatever it is. I love the cash flow game because it's changed my children's lives. Back in the day, my kids are grown now, they're 15 and 17, but back in the day, Robert would allow them to travel with us. And one of my most wonderful memories is my 9-year-old son on stage in Argentina, dissecting a deal that Kim had done with Fernando's wife, Cecilia. And, there's, however many people in there, 1,000 people, wherever it was, being translated into Spanish. And my 9-year-old's up there diagramming deal. And people would come up and they say, well, your son's a genius. And I'd say, no, he's not. All kids are geniuses, right? He's not special. He's just played cash flow. And having that cash flow game in our home, we played it regularly, right? Long games. And the stuff you can learn from that game, it's the best board game on planet Earth. Nothing's even close. And I would give that endorsement. Robert doesn't pay me to say that. I just really feel passionate about having that game in your home. So with that,
actually, I didn't start playing that game till I was 40. So it's not just for 9-year-olds. Like,
I think I
got the most value of anything we do here at Rich Dad. I would give it to that board game that I learned.
It was, yeah. We one time we played it. The kids were getting older, and we had their basketball buddies, the basketball team over, and we decided to do a financial education day. And what was really weird is I invited the parents to come. So the parents are lined up on an outer circle on chairs, and then me and the players are on the floor playing it. And the parents are just blown away about how their kids are picking this up so quick. And they're like, what? I mean, it was crazy cool. So anyway, I love the cash flow game.
Me too. Sorry, I feel like we turned that into a commercial. Totally accidental.
I don't care. I would do that on purpose if I get the chance. It's that good of a game.
It is. All right, so I'm going to read you this card from the game, and then I'm going to simplify the card just a little bit so people listening and watching can really grasp it. But in the card, there's a stock. It's called OK For You Drug Company. All right. The cost is $40. The cash flow of this card is 0, and I'm hoping you can change that part. The trading range, and this is interesting to me, is between $5 and $40. So it's for sale right now for $40, and the trading range is 5 to 40. So it's at the top.
Yeah.
How can you turn that into using options? How can you turn that into?
I probably wouldn't turn that one into an option, but I certainly could. What does it say about only you may buy, but everyone may sell? I imagine usually says something like that.
This one doesn't say that, but generally those cards will say that. Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit, and before we try to turn that into an option, let's explain what one is. An option, and another word for option is choice. That's pretty simple, isn't it? So if I have an option, I have the choice to do something. And one of the metaphors I really like to use that's outside of the stock market to help people understand it is going to Nordstrom and or a clothing store. And so maybe I'm browsing Nordstrom and I pick up a pair of jeans. And the first question I might ask the clerk is, "Hey, how much for the jeans?" And she says, "Oh, they're $200 or whatever they are." And I say, "Hey, would you mind holding these? I think my wife would love these, but I'm not sure that she doesn't have a pair like this already. Would you hold these for a couple days? I know they're on sale for $200. They're usually $250. Would you hold them for a couple days for me?" And she says, "Look, here's my business card. I'll even write down, Andy jeans, $200. I'll honor that price the next 2 days, even if they're not on sale anymore." And I say, "Thank you. I now have the choice to buy those jeans, right? Now I don't have to buy them. It's my option. I could say, well, thanks for holding them and not even show up again. Or I could show up and buy the jeans." What's interesting is that puts me in a position of power. Because think about it. What if the next day someone really cool, Beyonce shows up in a new music video wearing those jeans, right? Or Kim Kardashian or an influencer, puts something out on Instagram that she's wearing those jeans. The next day they might be $300, but I now have the ability to buy them for $200. What's really crazy about that is, let's say I go to Nordstrom the next day and I'm really excited because they're now worth $300 thanks to Kim Kardashian. I can buy them for $200. And I see a big line of people, waiting to get in, and they're all nervous that there might not be enough jeans. And I walk up to one of these people, I say, "Hey, how much money you got in your wallet?" And they say, $300. I'm going to buy the jeans. I said, "Tell you what, you give me $100. You give me $100 right now. I'll hand you this card, let you buy them for $200, same price, right? And now you're guaranteed, because I got my name on a pair of those jeans for the next 2 days with my name on it with this card." So that's what an option does. When you have the choice to buy something at a set price, if the price of that item goes up, and there's many analogies you could give, I'd say, "Hey, Greg, tell you what, I'll give you $5,000 right now for the choice to buy your home at $1 million. Okay, so you've got $1 million home. I give you $5,000, and I have a month to decide whether to give you the $1 million. So time ticks by, and just out of sheer luck, you're, hoeing in your backyard, and you strike oil. And I go to ExxonMobil. I say, "What's this property worth?" They go, "About 30 million." I go, "I have the option to buy it at $1 million. You want to give me 29 million? I'll give it to you." So the idea of locking up the ability to buy something, locking up the ability to buy something is huge. Every single card in the cash flow game could potentially be an option. I'll give you an example. Let's say I draw a 3-2 house. I draw a card that says, "Oh, here's a 3-2 house, and it's $300 in cash flow." Okay. And I look around the board, because one of the rules in the cash flow game is I can negotiate to sell my opportunity. Is that right?
Yeah.
So if I pick a card that says I have the choice. I can either buy that 3-2 house, or I could stick the card back under and say, no, thank you. I have a choice. So every card I draw in the cash flow game gives me a choice to buy something or not. Well, if I look over on your financial statement, because I might be your auditor, right? I'm on your right? I look on your financial statement and I see Greg's $300 away from getting out of the rat race.
Correct.
I mean, he could win this game. He could be the first guy of the rat race on the fast track and then win it. And he's $300 away, but I have the card in my hand that can get him there. And I say, hey, Greg, looks like you're $300 away from getting out of the rat race. How bad do you want to get out, right? Because I have the option to buy this right now and you don't. Do you want to buy this card from me? And you might pay me whatever you think it's worth to get that guarantee to get out of the rat race. So if you were to draw a card on stocks and say, well, the trading range is from 5 to 40 and today it's selling at 40, there's something about an option called intrinsic value. And this is a great opportunity to teach this. Is right now, the way to decide whether my option has intrinsic value is whether I can brag about it or not. Let's go back to Nordstrom and the business card, right? Okay, I have the right to buy this at 200. And today the jeans are selling at 3. Can I brag about that? Yeah, it's got $100 of intrinsic value. But if all of a sudden the next day, instead of Beyonce, coming out on her video with the jeans, let's say, for example, I wear them. Or let's say, for example, even worse, they're overstocked. And we find out that the company, there's a news story that the company was using child labor in a foreign country and they're awful people and their brand is ruined. Well, now I can't brag about an option because I have the right to buy it at 200, but now Nordstrom's trying to get rid of them at $35, right? So the value of that option really depends on the power and whether you can brag about it or not. Well, if I say, hey, look, guys, I can buy this at $40 at the top of the trading range. Anyone interested in this card? Well, it's certainly still an option, but it's not an option anyone really cares to have. Now, if you got it at 5 and you said, you have the right to buy it at 5 and someone else sees an opportunity in that, right? Maybe then you could sell that card as an option. You could say, hey, I have the option to buy it. It's got intrinsic value. How much you give me for that? How much you give me for that? So basically an option is a choice. It's a contract that guarantees you can buy something at a set price or sell it at a set price. And because of that guarantee, when the underlying, whatever the underlying product or security is goes up and down, that option becomes very, very, very valuable. And it's kind of neat, Greg, because, if we go back to our Nordstrom example, I don't have to spend the $200 on the jeans to find out. I can simply get a contract. Maybe I give the clerk, $10 for her trouble, right? And I say, here's $10 to hold them for me. Now, instead of spending $200 to find out what the price of the jeans will be, I only had to spend $10. That's a form of leverage, isn't it? So in the stock market, it's pretty simple. I could either pay $100 for the stock, or maybe I say, I'll give you $5 for the right to buy it $100 for the next couple of months. And then I don't have to spend the full amount to find out where it goes.
Right.
So there's a huge opportunity in options in the markets, both a buyer and a seller. It's an intricate conversation, but to answer the question, Andy, what is an option? An option is when I have the choice. I got it locked up. I've got a guarantee. I can buy it if I want, or I can not buy one. I've locked it up for a certain amount of time.
Okay, so now I have one type of option that I absolutely love. I think I bring it up almost every show. Mm-hmm. So the stock's at 40.
Yeah.
But it could drop all the way to 5. But let's say that I'm looking at the trend and it's been at 40 for a while and it hasn't dropped, say, to 30 in a long, long time.
Yeah.
I could sell a put where I have the option to, or I actually made the promise to buy it if it does drop down to 30. Is that?
Yes.
So I'm basically cash flowing. It's passive income. I didn't really do anything except make a promise.
Yeah, you can be a buyer of an option, but you can also be the seller of an option. And I love being the seller of options. I absolutely love it. When I had my sons buy their first stock, I had them make a promise to buy these stocks if they fell. That way they'd get paid to buy them cheaper. It's an intricate conversation. It's one of the things I love to make simple, in the classes on options that we teach. We use lots of metaphors, lots of analogies, lots of practice, and that's the way you get your head around it. But the simplest way to understand is option is another word for choice. And it's a contract that gives you choices to do things, right? It locks in your buying price or it locks in your selling price. And think about that for a moment, Greg, the comfort that can bring. What is the scariest thing for people about stocks? Not knowing what they can buy them for or sell them for, right? If I buy this, what if it drops? Or if I don't buy this, what if it goes up, right? Without me. So to guarantee your ability to buy something at a price you want, or a guarantee to be able to sell something at a price that you want, really brings control. Robert, I was so mad at myself. Robert will often pull out his whiteboard and his flip chart, and he'll write things. And when he writes them, I'm like, that is so obvious and so simple. How come I didn't see that in the first place? And one of those experiences I had with Robert was on risk. And he wrote down risk is related to control. When control goes up, risk goes down. When control goes down, risk goes up. I'm like, that is so obvious. How come I didn't catch that before he explained it to me? But I hadn't. And one of the things that's tough about stocks is control. If I decide to be a house flipper, I might be able to buy a house and force appreciation. Kenny does this all the time with his stuff: better management, better facilities, better appliances. A rehab of a property makes it more valuable, forces the appreciation. But with Apple, I can't do that. With ExxonMobil, I can't do that, right? I can't go buy IBM and force it up. So people get worried about being able to buy and sell. Well, if you can get a guarantee, a choice, where you have the choice to buy at what prices you want and sell at what prices you want, that reintroduces that element of control. And it actually makes things less risky often, as opposed to more risky. So that's what an option is. It's the ability to choose where you want to buy and where you want to sell.
And that's kind of getting into the insurance strategy using options.
Very much. I love having the right to sell. When COVID hit, I mentioned in our last podcast that I bought some ExxonMobil in the low 50s, and it kept going down. Right after I bought it, it kept going down. I didn't want to sell it because I really thought I got a good price on it. But man, I thought, oh boy, this could really drop for a bit. Right. So what I actually did is I actually purchased some put options that gave me the right to sell at the same price I bought at. And it cost me a little bit of money to insure that, but it was like buying insurance on a home. I mean, I put a pretty good amount of money in it, not millions or anything like that, but I bought a significant amount of shares, and I thought I want to protect those shares. So I got myself a guarantee that I could sell at that same price. I had a strike, I remember, $55, which gave me the choice to sell that at 55, no matter how far down it went. Well, it did go down, and those options became very, very valuable. And I was actually a little bit lucky, to be quite frank, because I was able to sell those options for a handsome profit and keep my stock. So I got paid the insurance money when my stock went further, but I got to keep my stock. So it was kind of like getting it repaired, right? Just as if your home was damaged, the insurance company would repair it.
Right.
So it's a wonderful thing to learn. I will say this, maybe more important than learning what an option is with all the ins and outs and jargon, maybe what's most important is having a desire to spend some time and say, look, I'm going to have a determination. I'm going to learn this, no matter how long it takes me, no matter how many analogies I have to sit through. I'm going to learn this, because here's what I would say. Honestly, if I didn't have the options market, I wouldn't be nearly as involved in stocks as I am. If I didn't have that type of control and those additional options for cash flow, stocks would be much less appealing to me, for sure.
Right, that makes sense. So I want to remind everybody that you are giving away the free course, How to Cash Flow in 30 Days. It's in the description. Turns out there's even a link on the screen now. I don't know if you touch that or go to the description. But in that course, you're going to discuss, and it's free, you're going to discuss how to use options to cash flow, but also how to use them as insurance, correct?
Yeah. And this, it sounds like a bold statement, you know, zero to cash flow in 30 days. It's really not. It is one of the most conservative. The things I share in that course are more conservative than just buying stock alone. In fact, if people are in a 401k, it can be argued that they're taking more risk and being more aggressive without getting any cash flow than what I share in that course. It's the same things I teach my children. You know, if I can take my son, you know, in a couple of weeks to a true cash flow, I can take anybody there. So it's not, you know, be a millionaire in 30 days. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're a person that read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you say, I really like to have an asset that gives me some type of cash flow, just so I can say, yeah, here's an asset, here's some cash flow. Doesn't mean you get out of the rat race in 30 days, but you can get a start. And I really believe that anyone can get a cash flow from the stock market in 30 days or less. Anyone could.
Well, that kind of goes back to what I'm supposed to say, and I forgot to say earlier. This is not financial advice. And, you know, we always say, because we don't know you, we don't know your situations, but you used the word just 2 minutes ago, desire. We also don't know your desire to sit down and learn this stuff. And so on the 30-day course, the cash flow in 30 days, I know you're going to teach the strategies of cash flow and hedging, but it's the desire then that takes you to the next level and determines how fast you actually can get out of the rat race. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that determine that. One of the surprises I had when I decided I want to be in business and in investing is that I was going into an exercise in personal development. I just thought it was going to be all learning about money and, you know, learn about money. But investing in business has a way of rooting out your weaknesses and making them, you know, putting them on display. And so there's a tremendous amount of temperament. I think that's really important. Your temperament, your emotions. I think discipline was something that took me a long time. I still battle with it, right? We all do. Doing certain things that make sense logically that might be difficult to do emotionally. That type of stuff, that resilience to come back from a loss or a mistake. So there's a lot of personal development, and it's a glorious journey. I'd never want to be at an employee at a boring job where I just did the same thing, where my weaknesses weren't exposed, where I wasn't growing. So to get out of the rat race, it's not just a financial journey. It's very much a personal development journey. And I think we become better having embarked on it. It's just my opinion.
You know, every Thursday, I'm lucky enough I get to meet, the team gets to meet with Robert. And last Thursday, he made the bold statement, and the more I think about it, like, duh. But he said there is nothing more emotional than money. It affects every area of your life, and there's two main emotions that are always triggered. He said, you're either going to be feeling greed or fear, and those are constants. And so kind of like you said, when you take these courses, you think it's about money, but it's really about keeping your emotions in check and learning to almost temper them so you can use logic. Is that fair?
Yeah. I see a lot of people see fear, greed. I also see anger. You know, those three emotions, when emotion goes up, our intelligence can go down often. And crimes of passion, you know, people steal money, they'll kill for money, and they get angry. And, you know, usually people don't do stupid things unless it's one of those three. They're either really, really greedy, or really, really afraid, or really, really angry. You know, I get angry when I think about 401ks. My book 401 Chaos is a book about anger, and it's written that way on purpose because people should get angry.
Andy, I thought you said 401ks were the greatest thing ever.
Oh, don't get a rant going on that. You know how to trigger that one, man. I'll tell you what, they suck.
I'm trying.
They suck. All right. They are the most awful freaking thing. there's no options in that deal. There's no protection in that deal. I mean, don't get me started. But yeah, learning about an option is something that I believe is part of a person's financial education, because they're really everywhere. There's options in real estate. There's something called earnest money. That's an option, right? There's insurance that gives you choices. There's premiums. The concept of those derivatives, those options, are everywhere in business, everywhere in real estate, and certainly pervasive in the stock market. So I hope that question helped a little bit. What is an option? Well, it's a choice. It's a contract. It's an agreement that gives me a guarantee, a right to buy something at the price I want or sell something at the price I want. So purchasing options gives people rights, guarantees, choices, and choices are powerful and valuable. And that's why people will spend money buying and selling options. They're very powerful contracts that can put you in a very advantageous position.
And to me, it's, no one thinks of stock market investing as cash flow. And when you taught me how I can use the selling and buying of options on a stock I even want to keep, I don't want to sell my option. And I can still make money month to month doing almost nothing on a stock that's also paying me in dividends. So once you start adding the dividend plus your options trading cash flow, it's like, I actually ran you're gonna hate this. I'm just gonna apologize now, so don't rant on this one. But I ran a spreadsheet of, if I take dividend, I picked a stock. If I take dividends and I do this for my cash flow, what performs better, that or one of my real estate houses that I have? And it took the real estate house almost 30 years to catch up to quality stock trading with cash flow. But what I didn't calculate, and this just happened to me this week, this is why I'm a little down on real estate. One of my tenants, their air conditioning blew, and I'm in Arizona. It's 115 outside. So I had to get that thing fixed in a day, right? Because you just can't let people live with that heat. Cost me $6,000, right? The very next day, when my other tenants, one of the pipes blew inside one of the walls, soaked upstairs, downstairs.
Oh my gosh, you've had a rough week.
Terrible week. And so then that thing ended up costing me thousands and thousands. And so I'm just like, if I added those thousands of dollars into this calculation I did with options trading, I'm pretty sure my options trading would have just kicked it right in the butt. So I'm a little down on real estate right now.
Don't be too down on it.
Just,
I love my real estate. I don't have as much real estate as guys like, Robert or Kim. But I love it. I love, there's opportunities everywhere, and there's bad things that can happen in the stock market too, right? There's days where that's that personal development of resilience. There's days where, I had one stock that I got into, and we had what's called a gap down, and it doesn't really bother me because it doesn't change what I paid for it, right? I'll give you an example. I decided to pay about $30 for this stock. And I calculated how long it would take me to pay that, to get that money back in terms of premium, in terms of dividend. And so it really doesn't matter what the price does, right? I mean, I paid $30 for it. So I need to get $30 back out of it to get to infinite return, right? So whether it goes up or down doesn't really matter. With that said, they come out with an earnings call and they're going to try this new strategy, and they downgraded their guidance for the year, and the thing dropped into the 20s. So there you lose, a third, not quite a third, fourth of what you put in right then. And what I was mostly mad at is, God, I could have bought that cheaper.
Yeah,
totally. I waited. But it didn't make me sell my stock. It didn't make me panic because I know I have the dividend and I know I have those options to get that $30 back. So even if the stock drops, who cares? I can still get my $30 back by cash flow. It just takes time.
Yeah, actually, knowing you, I imagine, since you had already done your fundamental analysis, I imagine when it dropped to 20, you ended up buying more.
Well, I sold some puts. If it goes further, I'm going to buy some more for sure. But also, things change. Fundamental analysis is just a snapshot of where it is right now. I could be talking about the same stock 6 months from now and says, you know what, we made a mistake. If you read Warren Buffett's letters every year, he's pretty smart about how he goes about it. he usually starts off with talking about the mistakes he made that year. And I don't know if I can think of a year off the top of my head where he didn't start off by saying, hey, I made a mistake on this one. So we're going to learn from that. So there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be broken pipes. Hey, I'll tell you, the same thing happened in the stock market. You had a pipe break. There's this company called British Petroleum. They're called BP. They're actually, now that stands for broken pipe. They broke a pipe in the Gulf of Mexico once.
Remember
and it
that.
took for their stock from $60 to $30, and that's billions. So pipes break in stocks. If you want to talk about broken pipes, go to BP. It stands for broken pipe, not British Petroleum. They broke a big pipe.
All right,
so you're okay, buddy.
I appreciate that. Well, hey, on that, let's wrap it up. I just want to encourage everyone. The free course Andy has, 30 days to cash flow, or 0 to cash flow in 30 days. I think that's what it's called, Andy. It's a great course. So, Andy, thanks for the free stuff, and thanks for the education that's also free on this show. And everyone, make sure you write your comments, questions, whatever. But we really appreciate the questions. Those are super helpful.
Love them, and we'll do our best to answer them. So certainly like, subscribe, but most of all, comment. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Andy, I'll see you next week. Thank you.
We'll see you.
All right, bye.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.